All right, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to take a really close look, like a laser focus on Psalm 131.
Nice, short, but boy, oh boy, powerful.
Yeah, it really is from the New Living Translation on YouVersion. That's our source today, and we're going to break down, what this is all about. Really, it's about peace, right? Inner peace and how to sort of deal with all the things, the overwhelming thoughts we all deal with, and do it quickly and thoroughly. That's what we do here.
Absolutely. And, I think especially in today's world, it's so go, 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 247, the news cycle never ends.
Yes.
Learning how to create that quiet space inside is, well, it's not really a luxury anymore, is it?
It's essential.
It really is. It's essential for, just being able to function, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So let's jump right in. Verse 1, right off the bat, it says, "Lord, my heart is not proud. My eyes are not haughty. I don't concern myself with matters too great or too awesome for me to grasp." So, how does that, immediately, to me, it screams overwhelm, right? How does that connect to this idea of feeling overwhelmed?
Well, the thing that I think is so interesting about this is how it immediately connects humility. A heart that's not proud and eyes that are not haughty, which basically means arrogant or, thinking you're superior.
Right.
It connects that to just letting go of the need to understand everything. I think that's a huge source of anxiety for so many of us, right?
Oh, for sure.
Is that we feel like we have to know everything and control everything.
Yeah.
And this verse is saying, just acknowledging that some things are just beyond our grasp.
Right.
Can actually be incredibly freeing.
It's like acknowledging your limits is like a relief.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly trying to be like, oh, I got to figure it all out.
Yeah, I got to, solve all the world's problems.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then verse 2 kind of takes a turn. It says, "Instead, I have calmed and quieted myself like a weaned child who no longer cries for its mother's milk. Yes, like a weaned child is my soul within me." And I love that image of the weaned child. That's just so...
It's so potent, isn't it?
So potent, yeah.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you've got this, image of the nursing infant,
Yeah.
right, who's completely dependent, just wants that milk, needs that nourishment, and then it transitions to this state of quiet satisfaction.
Yeah.
And the psalm is using this as an analogy for a state of contentment.
Right.
And I think it's not just about physical satisfaction.
Right.
I think it's about a sense of mental and emotional self-sufficiency.
Right, that you don't need
You don't need that constant external reassurance,
yeah.
validation,
Yeah.
control. And I think that speaks directly to what you were talking about, with feeling overwhelmed, that desire to just quiet all that internal noise.
Right. So it's an active thing then, right? This calming and quieting yourself. It's not like something that just happens, like, oh, I suddenly feel better.
Yeah, exactly. I think, the way it's phrased, I have calmed and quieted myself, it indicates intention.
Right.
It's a conscious effort. And it actually raises an interesting question for me, for you. How often do we actually try to wean ourselves?
Oh, wow.
From that, the constant information overload, all the demands, the things that contribute to that feeling of overwhelm.
That's such a good question. It's almost like we're conditioned to always be plugged in,
Right.
And then we wonder why we feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Okay, so then we get to verse 3, and it's interesting. It shifts again. It says, "O Israel, put your hope in the Lord now and always." So how does this idea of hope, how does that tie in with what we've been talking about, The humility, the inner peace.
Well, if you think about it, within the context of the whole psalm, that call to hope comes right after that beautiful description of the soul at rest.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Almost like it's suggesting that inner quiet isn't the destination. It's more like it creates a foundation.
Oh, I see.
It's by letting go of that need to control everything and finding that internal stillness, it seems to be saying that's when you can truly put your hope in something beyond yourself.
So that's where the hope comes in.
Yeah, and I think that's what gives us that real sense of grounding,
Right.
that transcends all that anxiety.
That can help us get through all those anxieties.
Exactly.
So if we take it all together, like we said we would, this psalm seems to be saying, start with humility, acknowledging we don't need all the answers.
Right.
Then work towards that inner stillness, like that satisfied child. And through those things, through those steps, you can start to place your hope in something bigger than yourself.
And that's where the real lasting peace comes in, I think.
That's where it comes in, yeah. Isn't it amazing that something written, so long ago can be so relevant to us today.
It really is. It really speaks to the timelessness of this wisdom. You know, this is something that people have been grappling with for centuries.
Yeah, it's human nature.
It is.
So, to everyone listening, I want you to really think about this, okay? Like, what are those things that you're holding on to, those matters too great, as the psalm says,
Mm-hmm.
And how can you, actively seek that stillness, that weaned feeling that you don't have to be plugged in all the time?
Right, like letting go of that constant need to know and control.
Exactly. I mean, could that be the key to finding more peace, maybe even a more lasting hope in your own life, whatever that looks like for you?
I think it's a good question for all of us to ask ourselves
It is.
and to keep coming back to.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.